Welcome along to your very first video tutorial on SketchUp. Now, for those of you wondering what SketchUp is all about, basically it's a 3D modeling software that is used to design and visualize objects in 3D. So that could be things like buildings, environments in architecture projects, could be interior design elements, maybe you're making a video game and you want to create a 3D character for it. Engineers use this program for their projects, and I know a lot of hobbyists use SketchUp to design little trinkets that they can later 3D print. So there's lots of different creative fields that make use of SketchUp, and this is just, I guess, a few examples of how it can be used. Alright, so what we're going to be doing in this very first tutorial is learning some of the basic tools and features of SketchUp and trying to, I guess, get an understanding of how it works exactly. The first thing that I want you to understand with SketchUp is how to move around the 3D environment. Okay, so load up SketchUp now. And when you load SketchUp, you should have it looking pretty similar to what my screen looks like right now. And you'll notice that we've got three colored lines on the screen, a blue, a green, and a red. And these are the three different axes or planes that you would expect to see in a 3D environment. We've got the x-axis running along the bottom in the red line. We've got the blue line up here, which is the y-axis, and then the z-axis is that green line running off into the distance there. And they're the three different dimensions, as I said, that you will see in the 3D environment. Okay, now to move around the 3D environment, it's quite simple. Grab your mouse and simply scroll up and down first of all to zoom in and out. I'd try and aim your mouse towards the dude standing in the middle of the page and just scroll in and out at him. Okay, that's the first movement tool that you need to know. Second one is how to orbit around your 3D objects. And the way you do that is hold down your mouse wheel and start moving your mouse around while you're holding it down. You can see that you can start to spin around your 3D environment. Okay, you can go up, you can go down. You've got all sorts of different ways you can orbit around your objects. Another way to orbit around is by simply going over to your toolbar here on the left-hand side of the page and selecting the orbit tool, which is this curly arrow going around that blue line. Okay, if you hover over that orbit tool there, you'll see that the word orbit pops up. And it's also got the letter O in brackets after it. Now, the letter O in brackets means that's the shortcut key. Okay, so you can press the letter O instead of coming over to the toolbar here to grab the orbit tool, and that will also allow you to start orbiting around your 3D objects. Okay, the final movement tool I want you to be aware of is just below the orbit tool there, and that's the pan tool. Okay, so if you select those little red arrows in the hand, you can move left and right, and you can also move up and down. Okay, a shortcut to do that is hold the Shift key down on the keyboard and also hold the mouse wheel down at the same time, and that will let you pan left and right, up and down. Okay, so a handy couple of tools there for moving around in a 3D environment, but it's quite simple. Okay. Alright, so the last thing that I need to show you now before we get underway with our Rubik's Cube creation is to just change the way we measure items in SketchUp. Now, SketchUp, I assume, is an American program. And if you go up to the menu in your top left here and go to App Settings, you will notice that the default template here uses feet and inches for its measurements. We need to change that into something us Aussies will understand, so millimetres is what we're after. So look for decimal millimetres and change it to that. Click the little cross up the top to apply that change, and you'll also need to go to the menu again and go to a new document. Okay, you won't need to save that old document because we didn't do anything to it, but by making a new document now we have those measurements changed over to millimetres, and we should be ready to start designing our Rubik's Cube. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to click on the creepy dude in the middle of the page and just press delete to get rid of him. And first thing we need to draw onto our 3D into our 3D environment is a square. Okay, now to do that we need to use the rectangle tool. So you can either go over to your toolbox here on the left hand side of the page and go down to the fourth tool, which looks like a rectangle with a black and red dot in opposite corners, and click on it. Okay, that selects the rectangle tool. Another way to select the rectangle tool is by pressing the letter R as the shortcut key. Okay. Once you've got your rectangle tool, I want you to go to the origin, which is where all those three axes, I guess you'd call them, intersect. So the blue, the green, and the red lines all joining there in the middle. That's the origin point. And I want you to click and just pull out a square or rectangle shape. It doesn't matter what size it is for now. And as you're dragging this out, have a look down in the bottom right here where it says dimensions, and it will tell you how big your square or rectangle, whatever it is you're making, is going to be. That's the width by the height. So what I'm going to do, just be careful here, what I want you to do is click once to just draw a square, and without pressing anything else, I want you to type in 25,25 and press enter. And that actually types into your dimensions box down the bottom here. So what we've done now is resize that square or rectangle you just drew to 25 by 25 millimeters. And that is very small. So you're going to need to zoom in on the origin here so you can actually see it. So scrolling up on my mouse, I can now see that square that I drew at 25 by 25 millimeters. Now if you go for a bit of an orbit around that shape, you'll see that it's just a flat 2D square. What we want to do now is make it into a 3D shape. So we want to make a cube. What we do is use the push-pull tool for that, and that's hiding just below the rectangle tool. The letter P is the shortcut for that tool. Now the push-pull tool is basically how it sounds. You can either push or pull shapes. You can pull them up or you can pull them down. So click on the face of your square and just pull it up a bit. It doesn't matter what size for now. Now once you pull it up, before you click on anything else, I want you to write 25 again, which will appear in the bottom right corner, and press enter. Okay, and you will get a height of 25 millimeters. So now we've got a perfect cube. 25 mil height, width, and depth. Okay, so that's a pretty decent looking cube, and that's a good start for our Rubik's Cube. Now you notice on these Rubik's Cubes they've got black borders around them. So I might add in a little black border to my cube. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to use a tool called the offset tool, and you'll need to go to the three dots at the bottom of your toolbar to access that. So this expands out your menu here, so you've got quite a number of different tools you can use, and the one we're looking for is offset. As I said before, it's just hiding in the middle there. It's got a red arrow pointing through a couple of circles there. And with the offset tool, basically what you do, just watch what I do here and I'll explain it as we go. If I click on this front face and move my mouse, it starts drawing a square. So the exact same shape as that face that I've clicked on, and you can make it smaller or bigger than the original face. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to let go of my mouse and simply type in 1 and press enter. And that creates a square that has a 1 millimeter offset from the original shape. So it's 1 millimeter smaller than the original face that I clicked on. Can I get you to go around to all the other sides of the square and do that? So click on the next face, let go of your mouse, press 1, press enter. Go around the back, click on this face, let go of your mouse, 1, enter. Okay, 1, enter. Do the top, 1, enter. Do the bottom, 1, enter. And if you go around your cube now, you should see you've got this nice border going around your cube. And what I would like you to do now is actually color that in black. Okay, so the way we color things in is we go over to this little paint bucket tool here. It's called the paint tool, or you can press B for the shortcut. When you click on it, you'll see some materials pop out here, and you can color in this cube with different materials. I like to go to this little checkerboard cube here with a magnifying glass and browse through all the different materials that we have on offer. There's lots of different materials you can color your shapes with to make them look a bit more realistic. But what we're going to be using is just the plain colors, and towards the bottom you'll see the black. Grab the black and start clicking on those borders. Okay, shouldn't take you too long to get around to them all. Actually get underneath as well. That looks pretty good. I'll just get around the back here. Okay, that looks like every side is coloured in black. Perfect. Okay, if you hit the little double arrows just near the colours there, that will just minimise that menu. We don't need to see it for the time being. But that's looking good. We've got the first part of our Rubik's Cube done. So what we need to do now is basically duplicate this shape a number of times. We don't need to draw it again. We're just going to copy and paste basically. So there's a little trick to doing this. Grab your select tool or press the space bar. That's just that little black arrow there. And triple click your mouse on the shape to select it all. So 1, 2, 3, we'll select the entire shape. And what I want you to do is grab your move tool over here. It's the red arrows. Click in the top left corner. Start moving it. Now it looks like it's just moving this cube around, which it is. But while you're holding your mouse down, press the control key once on your keyboard. Don't hold it, just press it once. And that duplicates the shape. Now what I want you to do is just position it exactly next to the other one. Okay, like so. I'm then going to hover over that top left corner of this shape and start moving it, and I'm going to press Control once to duplicate it. And I'm going to move over the third one. And that's created the bottom row now of my Rubik's Cube. That looks quite good. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to triple click on any of these shapes and it will select all three of them. So 1, 2, 3, oops, 1, 2, 3. There we go, we've got them selected. Now using a similar process, we're going to stack 3 more blocks on top of these 3. So grabbing my move tool, the red arrows, I'm going to start this time in the bottom left corner. Drag up a little bit and press Control once. And then drag it up until it snaps on top, like so. Let's go for a bit of an orbit around to make sure they're sitting nicely on top of each other, which they are. And now let's do the same for this one. Drag up, press Control once, and snap it on top. So we've now got one whole face of the Rubik's Cube done. That's looking pretty good. Now if we triple click on one of these shapes, 1, 2, 3, it will select all 9 blocks. Let's do this duplication one last time for the next 2 rows of the Rubik's Cube to finish it off. So grab your move tool. I'm going to go over the bottom corner down here, start moving it back and press Control once. Okay, and that should just snap in nicely behind there. And we'll do that one more time. Start moving this one back, press Control, and snap it in like so. There you have it. You've got a pretty good looking Rubik's Cube by the looks of things there. Last thing we need to do now is colour it in. So just like we did before, go and grab the paint tool. Head over to your materials here and choose some colours. So let's start with red. I think that's red. Yeah, that's red enough for me. And just go and click on the front faces there and make them red. Okay, yellow can come next. So we'll stick some yellow on top. After that, we'll do a bit of blue. Easy peasy. Around the back there, we might go with an orange colour. There's orange. And over on the side here, let's go with some green. I think underneath is white, so we'll leave that as white. And there is your fully finished Rubik's Cube. Okay. Just so we join all these shapes together now that it's finished, what I'm going to do is triple click on one of these shapes to select it all, right click my mouse and go to Make Component. And that component is going to be called Rubik's Cube, and click Create. And that just basically combines all of those different shapes into one big shape now. Okay, so that Rubik's Cube is looking good now. I think it's the second button up here that I'm going to click on in my toolbar. I'm going to click these little cubes on top of each other, which shows me the components being used in my design. So I've got a Rubik's Cube here, and what I can do, instead of redrawing that, if I wanted a second one, I think I can just click on that and drag out a completely new Rubik's Cube. Okay, now I can use this tool over here, that's a little red arrow pointing to the top right, called the Scale tool. Press the letter S for the shortcut key, and you can resize it. So if you want a big Rubik's Cube, for example. There we go, we've got a big one now. You can fly around the big fella. You've also got the little fella down there. And you can drag out as many different copies of that Rubik's Cube as you would like from that components panel, which is pretty cool. It saves you having to draw the Rubik's Cube again. Now, a little trick with this, I don't know if it's going to work. If I double click on one of these Rubik's Cubes, so for example this one here, I can now go into this component and start editing it again. So if I change, for example, the green side here to a different color, let's just pick a pink for now. I'll change it back to green in a minute, but if I change this to pink, watch what happens to all of these Rubik's Cubes. Not only does it affect one of them, but every other component that I dragged out will also be colored the same. Okay, so it can be a very quick way to edit lots of different components in your design if need be. Alright, what I'm going to do now is just delete that component by clicking on it and pressing delete. We just want the one Rubik's Cube left there now. And can you please save that up? So go up to your menu, choose Save As. Doesn't really matter what you press there. I just usually choose Purge All and save it to OneDrive. Okay. And that is your first tutorial in SketchUp done and dusted. Congratulations for getting this far.